MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com and State Farm.
There's an old saying in motor racing that says, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Meaning that when a car dominates on the track, it usually does the same in the showroom. And in terms of dominating the competition, few cars did it so completely and so quickly than the Plymouth Superbird in 1970 with NASCAR legend Richard Petty behind the wheel.
But unlike other NASCAR models like the Ford Gran Torino, the Superbird was not a hit with the public. In fact, a lot of them sat on lots collecting dust. But 50 years later, it's considered one of the most iconic muscle cars of all time.
Larry Cade is the proud owner of this 1970 Plymouth Superbird, which was once owned by the king himself, Richard Petty. In Larry's opinion, the car's iconic status is something that's been building over the years, and its polarizing looks are a big reason why.
Because you look at it and you're like, who would build this? Why would you? What are you thinking? Particularly my wife was like, who would drive that to the store? It's just so unfunctional. So it's such a ugly car that it's good looking.
Like so many legendary cars, the Superbird's story starts on the racetrack. In 1968, Ford was dominating Chrysler's NASCAR teams, who desperately wanted to get in the winner's circle. Dodge general manager Bob McCurry demanded that his designers do whatever it would take to beat Ford. Luckily, Chrysler also was in the rocket building business at the time, working with the US government on a project called Operation Paperclip, meaning Chrysler had actual rocket scientists on the payroll. Who better to design a race car? The result was the Dodge Daytona.
After the Daytona took NASCAR by storm in 1969, Dodge's sister division, Plymouth, introduced the Superbird for 1970. It was basically a road runner with a nearly 20-inch cone to cut through the air up front and a massive wing in the back to provide downforce and stability. And along the way, they welcomed an old friend back into the fold.
Once the Charger was unveiled, Richard Petty asked Plymouth to build a similar design for him, but they declined. Fed up, Petty left and joined Ford's NASCAR team instead, signing on for one season. Plymouth panicked, and it wasn't long before they were ready to deliver what the king wanted.
The story Richard says one day he was in level cross and he said, hey, somebody from Plymouth's coming. And it was like the president of Plymouth or the president of R&D of Plymouth, and they said, Richard, we got your wing car. We're going to call it a Superbird. Here's what it's going to look like. He said, all right, boys, I'll be back next year.
Petty went on to win 18 races in the Superbird, but despite the success, very few people actually wanted one. In fact, it's rumored that dealers had the noses and tails removed to turn the cars back into regular road runners, just so they would sell. Under the hood is a 440 cubic inch V8 producing 375 horsepower, and the Hemi version topped out at 425 horsepower. With the Superbird's sleek nose and huge wing, Petty was one of the few drivers able to break NASCAR's elusive 200-mile-per-hour barrier.
Which frankly seems insane. Even today with modern technology, a car hitting 200 miles an hour is an impressive feat. The fact that Richard Petty was able to do it consistently and confidently 50 years ago proves just how revolutionary this design really was.
But the good times didn't last. In 1971, NASCAR changed the rules, stating that any car with an aerodynamic shape like the Superbird's had to cap engine displacement at just 305 cubic inches. The reason? They were too fast. And as quickly as it flew into the scene, the Superbird was gone.
But it's certainly not forgotten. Even without Richard Petty's signature, an example like this can easily go for $250,000 or more, which proves that while it may have started out as an ugly duckling, the Superbird definitely turned into a swan with a V8.